Hi, my name is James, and this is 6 Up Save, the Warhammer channel that's not great, but it's better than nothing. And today I have a question. But before I get to the question, a little background. Today, Games Workshop revealed on the Warhammer community webpage 2 new villains arising for the Death Guard and the World Eaters. The Lord of Poxes for the Death Guard and Slaughterbound for the World Eaters. Now, I'll give you a little background about myself. I've been into Warhammer for about not quite a year and a half, and so I'm still fairly new with all the rules and the nuances of weapon abilities and things like that. And so I'm really asking this genuinely to the Warhammer community to hope to get some clarity on this, and maybe I have a potential solution to this problem, and I want to know what you think about it. So what I'm referring to is, on the Lord of Poxes specifically, his melee weapon, the Great Plague Blade, has 2 weapon abilities on it: devastating wounds and lethal hits. My understanding of these rules is, for lethal hits, when you roll the hit roll, any critical rolls, so 6s, auto wound. So you would skip the wound roll for those specific dice that are 6s. You set them aside, and then you take the rest that hit and roll them for the wound roll. For devastating wounds, you would do the same, but for the wound roll. So you would roll all of your dice for the wound roll that hit, and any critical wounds, so 6s again, would count as devastating wounds, and you would skip the save roll phase of that attack. My question is, don't both of these weapon abilities kind of contradict and play against each other just a little bit? Because if you roll for lethal hits, you're skipping the wound roll on any criticals and setting those aside. And so you're missing the opportunity to roll for devastating wounds on those auto wounds. It might seem like a small thing, but I feel like we're missing out a little bit on more potential devastating wounds from this attack. And I have something of a potential solution to this. And granted, I'm certainly not a tournament player. I only play with my close circle of friends. And so we tend to tweak little rules and, kind of homebrew things a little bit. We'll probably end up doing this anyway. But I want to know what your thoughts on it are, just as a general rule. So my thought was, you roll the hit roll, and any crits on the hit roll, they're lethals, and so you set those aside. And then you roll your regular wound roll for any wounds or for any hits. Any regular hits, you roll the regular wound roll, and you would count any critical wounds, you would set those aside. Then you would go back to those lethals that made it through past the wound roll and roll those just for devastating wounds. So, for example, the Great Plague Blade has 6 attacks. You roll 6 dice. Let's say one of them crits, and so you have 1 lethal hit. You set it aside. Then you roll all the other ones that make it through. Let's say all the other ones make it through because it's hitting on 2s. Let's say the other 5 make it through, and one of them is a dev wound. And so you set the devastating wound dice aside. Scrap all the wounds that didn't make it through. Then you take that lethal that skipped the wound roll and you roll it just for the purpose of seeing if you can get a crit and add that to the dev wound pool. It seems like the intent behind this weapon is that it has both of these, and if you're getting lots of lethals, you're not getting the dev wounds. And that feels like such a waste to me. And so I feel like this is kind of an easy solution to this problem. Just have 1 extra roll. It'll take a little bit of, setting things aside and keeping track of dice for the attack rolls and everything, but I feel like it's the best way to take advantage of everything that this weapon has to offer. What are your thoughts on this? Am I just overthinking this way too much? Are there other weapons in the game that have both of these and you just kind of roll it as it is because this is such an uncommon occurrence? I want to know what the community thinks about this in general, and I also want to make sure that my understanding of these rules is on point because I do want to play the game correctly. I also want to play it with the spirit in which it was intended, particularly with this weapon, because I've got a really good friend who's building his Death Guard army and getting the new combat patrol in the new box and all that stuff, which includes the Lord of Poxes. And so I want to make sure that he is getting the most bang for his buck points-wise from the Lord of Poxes, because it's a really good weapon, and it seems like it could do a lot, but it's just kind of hamstringed a little bit by the conflict between these 2 abilities. So what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments how you would handle this, if you would do anything different at all. And, let me know what you think about the new army boxes that they're coming out with recently for Death Guard and World Eater specifically. I think they're really offering up some really cool stuff. I'm very excited for the Space Wolves box coming out soon. Eagerly awaiting my chance to pre-order it. Yeah, I'm pumped, but just a little bit confused. So help me out. If you're new to the channel, be sure and subscribe. Like this video if you thought it was informative or, helpful at all. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on 6 Up Save.